Thanks everybody for being here. Really excited to be sharing some of the progress that we've been making with Mercury Editor and just improving the authoring experience in Drupal, specifically thinking about improving the authoring experience for marketers and editorial staff. So I'm going to stop my video and share my screen. And hopefully everyone can see this. Let's see here, get back to my Zoom screen as well. Okay, I'm just gonna go with that. And yeah, we'll keep going here. So today we're gonna be talking specifically about what's new with Mercury Editor, which provides effortless drag and drop publishing for Drupal. I'll just dive right in. What we're hoping to cover is first talking about what exactly Mercury Editor is and talking through the key features that it provides. Then we're going to dig into the module and ecosystem. While Mercury Editor is new and is still fairly limited in terms of the number of installs that are out there, it's based on some really mature underlying Drupal modules, and we'll just kind of talk through that. Then we'll talk about what's new specifically in Mercury Editor and do a couple demos, one of a fresh new kind of right out of the box Drupal 9 install, and then we'll dig into a client project as well and show what this looks like in a more customized environment. And finally, I want to talk through the roadmap to stable release, which is slated for later in 2023. Should have plenty of time at the end for questions. I'm looking forward to addressing those as they come up. So first, let's just talk a little bit about what Mercury Editor is for any of you who have not seen this presentation before or are not familiar with the module. Mercury Editor is first and foremost a Drupal module. It's available for download on Drupal.org. As other contrib modules in Drupal, it is free open source technology. Mercury provides no code, easy to use, drag and drop editing for Drupal. It provides a custom component library based on the paragraphs module. So it uses paragraphs to provide components and provides a custom component library for websites. And it provides styles management with the ability to fine-tune styles specific to your website, derived from your style guide and your component library. Finally, Mercury Editor provides a streamlined UI, a streamlined user interface, again, focused on the needs of editorial staff and marketers. I want to talk a little bit about the ecosystem for Mercury. Again, Mercury itself is really new, still under very active development. You can download it on Drupal.org at drupal.org/project/Mercury Editor. I would encourage everyone to definitely use the 2.1 branch, the 2.1 version. And when you're installing the module, just follow the install instructions that are on the release page. And that's going to, if you're going from 2.0 to 2.1, you're going to need to uninstall all of the 2.0 modules and submodules, then install 2.1. And the instructions, again, are on that release page. Mercury is based heavily on the paragraphs module, also based heavily on the layout paragraphs module, which in turn is based on the layout API in Drupal core. And then finally, Mercury Editor is also based heavily on or heavily utilizes style options for managing styles. And we'll get into exactly what that means when we get into the demo. I often like talking about layout. So layout paragraphs is a huge part of Mercury Editor, and it is the piece that provides the drag and drop functionality, all the drag and drop editing functionality. Layout paragraphs, that just like showing that kind of the adoption and status of layout paragraphs. Again, we continue to see this module grow in terms of installs, and it has become a really kind of widely used module for, again, bringing layouts to paragraphs in Drupal. And again, we'll dig into more of that when we get to the demo. So with that, I'm going to jump over to a demo, and we're gonna look at Mercury Editor in two contexts. First, in the context of a simple, again, right out of the box, fresh install of Drupal 9. And then second, we'll dig into a client project, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. So with that, let's take a look at how Mercury works, again, in the context of a brand new Drupal website. This website was just installed. It is only running a couple of Drupal modules, including, of course, Mercury Editor. Mercury Editor is, at its core, a replacement for the content creation page and content editing page. Let's take a look at what that means. I'm logged in as an administrator using the Gin theme. I've clicked on the admin content link. You go to add content. We'll take a look first at what this looks like, just kind of what the standard create article page looks like. Again, just a normal kind of Drupal content entry form, something that most folks on this webinar should be familiar with. And we'll take a look at what is different about the Mercury Editor version of the create page. So I've clicked into create a basic page, which is a content type that is enabled for Mercury Editor. As you can see, the interface is really different. Some things that have been changed about Mercury from the 2.0 version to the 2.1. The underlying module has been completely re-architected for performance, so it's a lot faster. It's been drastically simplified. So we have this live preview on the left. It's rendering in an iframe. It's the only thing on this page that's rendering in an iframe, which kind of helps from a performance perspective. The interface has been redesigned and simplified. So we have this save button at the top where we can always save our work, and then done to get out of the Mercury Editor experience. And then we also have this mobile and desktop preview across the top, and we've got some presets for the various mobile dimensions, and I can get into that in a little bit. Over on the right, the entire edit form has been moved into this kind of edit tray. I'll just give this a title. Click on the plus button over on the left. Again, this is using that live preview functionality and layout paragraphs for actually handling the creation of these components. We'll add a new section. I'll make this a 2-column section. Hit save, immediately drops that section in place in the live preview. Click on the plus button here in the left-hand column. We'll create an image. I'll add some media, choose a file from my computer. Just call this a landscape. Hit save. Insert the selected image. Hit save, and it immediately drops that image in place in the live preview. Go over to the right-hand column. Add some text. Hit save. Again, all of this is using layout paragraphs that brings this drag and drop functionality to the page based on the different paragraph types that are on the website. Give this a title. Hit save. You can see how that's working. Hit the save button, click done. And again, that exits out of the editor. And we're now seeing an exact representation of this page, or we're seeing rather the front end view of this page. And you can see just how closely the front end, I mean, it really is just a live preview, an exact representation of the front end when we go back into the Mercury Editor experience. So again, what we see on the left here is really identical to what the front end of the website is going to look like as we move through the editing process. This tray can be moved out of the way at any point. We'll take a look at kind of how that impacts the look and feel of, again, a more customized application of this here in a minute. I'll go back to this mobile preview. Here we see some of those presets. All of these can be modified through the settings pages within Mercury Editor. We'll take a look at that here in just a minute. We can kind of click through what the various sizes are, just the defaults that ship with Mercury Editor, and bounce back out to the desktop view. And again, at any point, hit save and then done to cancel out of it. I'm going to take a quick look here at what some of the settings are that are available now in Mercury Editor. We'll go into settings. Under content authoring, there's the Mercury Editor settings navigation option. We have these kind of basic overarching settings for Mercury. We can pick what theme we want to use to render the actual edit tray. So that kind of the edit tray that was tucked away to the right there. Most of our customizations, most of our enhancements have been built on top of Claro. So today, that is the best option in terms of what theme to use for Mercury Editor. And again, this is just the theme that's used for the tray itself. Has nothing to do with what's used for that live preview. And that'll be a little clearer again when we take a look at this with a more customized project. Mercury Editor allows you to configure which content types should and should not use the editing experience. So again, articles are not using Mercury Editor. If we go back to the article page, we can see that this is a much more kind of traditional Drupal forms setup. The content type that is using Mercury Editor is just the basic page. Mobile presets, this is where you could throw in another preset for different screen dimensions. You could also throw landscape versus portrait screen dimensions into this option, and those will show up again on the top as you're editing as options for mobile preview. Skip form settings, pretty specific kind of low usage option for specifying which components you might want to entirely skip the form for when adding a new component. We'll take a look at what that'll again be clearer as we move into the other portion of this demo. Menu settings are where you can specify the different groups for the component menu that shows up when you hit the plus button, and then dialogue settings are provide the ability to customize all of the different dialogues that are provided by Mercury Editor. So that's just a quick overview of some of the settings. I think with that, I'm going to go over to a recent client project, and again, we'll kind of show how Mercury might work on in a more custom application. So I'm going to switch tabs here. This project is for a client. The organization is called the Sanford Underground Research Facility. They are the deepest underground lab in North America. They're doing all kinds of incredible science experiments that involve researchers, universities, and institutions all over the world. We're working with Surf to redesign a portfolio of digital products. And in that portfolio of products, or in that collection of websites, Neutrino Day is one of the simpler of the websites that we're building with them. Neutrino Day is a website all about promoting a free annual STEM conference that Surf puts on every year. And it does all of the things that you would expect a website to do with respect to, again, promoting a public event. I'm just going to take a look at this homepage. This project, as well as all of the other projects we're working on with Surf, is heavily utilizing Mercury Editor. So we'll just kind of scroll through this homepage, and then I'm going to basically recreate this page just to give you a sense, again, for how Mercury might work in a more custom application. So we'll go over to the Add Content tab, click on Basic Page. This, again, is going to launch into the Mercury Editor experience. On this particular application, it's going to run a little bit slower. All caching is turned off and all dev tools are turned on. And the combination of that plus Zoom often makes things run pretty slow. Okay, great. So we have here this new basic page. I'm going to change the title here just to homepage, although we're not, in this case, the title is not actually showing up on the page itself just because of the design that we've created for this project. I'm going to click Add Section to get started. We'll start with a one column. I'll click over to the Styles panel. As I said before, Mercury Editor provides styles management for pulling in all of the styles that are created by or provided by individual or specific style guides and component libraries. So we'll just choose this option 9, which will give us this geometric shape background. Hit save. That section is immediately dropped onto the page. I'll hit the plus button, just kind of hiding back there behind the add section. These groups are provided, this kind of content group, media group, calls to action group, et cetera, are provided by those options that we were looking at just a minute ago in the settings for Mercury Editor. I'm going to start with a heading. I'll just grab some text from off screen. Paste that in, make this a heading 2, go over again to the Styles tab. Make that a little bit bigger so we can see what's going on. I'm going to choose the normal weight for this heading. and it drops the heading immediately onto the page. I'll hit the plus button again. We'll go to a component that's pretty specific to the needs of this site. It's just a date and place kind of lockup. And let's grab some text here. And once again, that component is immediately dropped onto the page. I'm going to drop this down below the heading, just where it should go. No, I don't want a heading. We'll add actually some text. So I'll go back in, click on add text. Again, grab some text. And we'll add a link down here to plan your visit. Give this a URL to /plan. And under styles, we'll give that the yellow button style, hit save. And again, it immediately drops that component onto the page. I'm going to once again reorder this just into the order that it should be for the homepage. We'll hit save and cancel out of it. And just confirm again that the front end of the website looks exactly like what we were editing. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to add a few more components here, again, just so that everyone gets a sense for kind of the breadth of what's available in Mercury. We'll take a look again at what the mobile preview looks like. We can see this at various sizes. Bounce back to the full screen version. In this case, the full screen version is still a little bit narrower than what we were looking at on the front end because this tray is sort of in the way. So we can easily tuck that out of the way, still continue editing the content, but really edit the content in the context of this full screen expanded view. I'm going to add another column here. We'll drop some media in here. Let's see, we'll just grab a video. Go to add media. Grab the demo reel, insert selected, and hit save. And that video is immediately dropped onto the page. We'll add another section. This time, we'll create kind of a heading for our speakers area. So we'll leave that as a one column. Choose another geometric shape for the background. And then within our column, give this a heading. Just call this speakers. I'm going to make this a link to the speakers page. Make this a heading 2 again. We'll make the style normal, but we'll also give it an icon. Hit save, and it drops that component immediately onto the page. I'm going to add another section. Here we'll kind of see one of the nice things about Mercury is it gives editorial and marketing staff the ability to make creative decisions while they're actually working on content. So I'm going to add a 3-column layout. And then within this layout, I'm going to start adding some people, some speakers to the layout here. So I'll add a person reference, look up Brian Mallow. We can give this an alternate title. So I'll say Meet Brian. And under styles, I'll choose the card style. Drop this in place. This is adjusted the title for this piece of content to Meet Brian exclamation, as I had provided that alternate there. I'm going to repeat this for these 3 columns. I'll just duplicate the component, drag it over, hit edit, change this to Chief Henry Red Cloud, remove that alternate title. We have our second speaker. I'll again duplicate it, move it over, hit edit, change this to Sam. And everybody can kind of get a sense for how that works. It's really easy to reorder these items. So I can move Sam over, Chief Henry Red Cloud over to the right. Ultimately, while all of this works and is still within the guidelines of the specific design system for this project, this isn't quite the look that the folks at Surf wanted to go with for this section. Instead, they wanted to do something like this. So I'll click Add Section, choose a 1 column. Move Brian up into our 1 column. Change the style from card to featured, which gives us kind of a wider, more prominent look. hit add section, add another one column. I'll move Sam up into this section. Again, change the style. This time we'll go to default, hit save. And then for this third one, I'm actually just going to edit the section, change it to a one column. Yes, I want content that was in the tertiary or the last column to be moved into the main content column once that change of the number of columns is made. Hit save. And then I'll change this person to default as well. Okay, great. That's looking much better. And again, much closer to the final look and feel of the homepage. I'll just have one more section here, this time with an image gallery. Go in and add a component. Oh, wrong button. Mercury is relying completely on the styles for the website on which it's installed. So in this case, the padding is pretty tight, makes it a little tricky to reach the plus button. That's something that, again, can be customized and really needs to be customized on a per site basis. Go in here and grab some images for an image gallery. Our first image, we'll add a second image. And just one more. Then hit save, and it drops that gallery right again into the layout immediately. In this case, I want this section to be a slightly different design. I'd like these edges to kind of expand the full width. So I'll go back into the Styles tab and choose full for the width of the section. That now expands out to the edges. And that's looking much, much better, much more in line with what was intended for the homepage. I've just hit save. We'll hit done just again to confirm that everything looks as we expect it to. And again, this is looking really close to what was ultimately created as the homepage for this website. One last thing I'll just get into really quickly here is the templates functionality for Mercury. There's a submodule within Mercury Editor called Mercury Editor Templates, which provides exactly that, templates. Templates are really just a starting point for creating content. They're not, there's no link is maintained to the original template. And I'll just show you what I mean by hitting this stamp icon. It loads a preview, kind of a rough preview of what the template is that I'm creating, asks me for a label. I'll just call it my template. Hit save. Now it saved that template to the library of components. If I add a new section, now my template is available as an option. Click on my template and it drops that component that I had saved as a template into the layout. I can then go into this component and change it as I like. Again, it's just a starting point. There's no link preserved to that original. It's just copied from the template library. That is about everything I think I have to show with respect to a demo for how Mercury works. Hopefully that gives everybody an idea of the kind of, again, really simple drag and drop editing capability that Mercury offers and some of the creative license that it provides to editorial staff, marketing folks, the ability to create content without having to go constantly back to a development team. I'm going to go back to this slide deck here and just talk a little bit about what's next for Mercury. So talk a little bit about what needs to happen to get this to stable. So Mercury is still under really active, heavy development. It is just in alpha now. APIs are changing fairly frequently, although there are definitely some of the more major architectural pieces that have started to kind of solidify. Where we're going with this, and this again is slated for stable release later in 2023. First, it is important to us that Mercury works as designed on virtually any Drupal 9 or 10 website. So the goal here is that you can download Mercury, install it You would need to be using layout paragraphs to really get the full value of Mercury, and using layout paragraphs for your main content region on various nodes or content types on your site. As long as you're using layout paragraphs, Mercury Editor should provide, again, that experience that we just looked at on any Drupal 9 or 10 website right out of the box. Second, Mercury Editor should be able to be installed and uninstalled with zero impact to other website functionality. In other words, you turn it on, you get an improved authoring experience. If for some reason you decide that's not for you and want to go back to kind of the more traditional edit tab that's provided in Drupal, you simply uninstall the module with zero consequence. All of the styles persist, everything that's been built for the front end persists, everything looks exactly the same. You would just literally lose that authoring capability from Mercury. Third, we're working on end-to-end automated testing. We're using Cypress for this because of the level of interactivity with Mercury and some of what's happening, the complexity of what's happening with iframes and some of the JavaScript behaviors. Cypress is our pick for test frameworks, and we're working on complete end-to-end automated testing. We are improving documentation and the overall project page for Drupal.org. And then finally, again, this is slated for release later in 2023. So once we have these 4 issues resolved, or these 4 major areas of work resolved, we'll tag a stable release, and that will be later in 2023. All right, thanks everybody. That is everything I had in terms of presentation and demo.